With Congress nearing its year-end deadlines, one of Indiana's senators decides he's running for governor. We'll talk with our panel about Mike Braun's decision and his vote on the marriage bill this past week. Plus, we'll talk with another potential candidate for governor, former state superintendent Jennifer McCormick. And more of our exclusive interview with White House Chief of Staff and Indianapolis native Ron Klain. It's all ahead right now on this week's edition of In Focus. It was breaking news Friday when Governor Eric Holcomb announced that he had to go to the hospital for pneumonia this past week. In a statement, his press secretary said he was admitted to the hospital out of an abundance of caution and said that he was responding well to the treatments. In the meantime, today we're also talking about the race for governor in 2024 as Indiana Senator Mike Braun filed paperwork this week to run for governor, opening up what could be a highly contentious primary for governor and for his current seat in the Senate. Here's State House reporter Kristen Eskow with a closer look at the impact this has on the political landscape in our state.
Republican Senator Mike Braun jumping in the race for governor in 2024. He filed campaign finance paperwork Wednesday. His chief of staff confirmed the move, saying Braun plans to make an official announcement of his candidacy very soon. Earlier this month, we asked Braun whether he was leaning toward running for governor instead of another Senate bid.
I've been pleased with what we've got accomplished. I pledged I wouldn't do it more than 2 terms.
Braun is a longtime businessman from Jasper who was elected to the Senate in 2018 following a competitive Republican primary. Prior to that, he served as a state representative. UIndy political science professor Laura Wilson says Braun has some advantages in the gubernatorial race.
Name recognition, having served now as a U.S. senator, as well as funding. He's very well funded and he's given his own money to his campaigns in the past.
So far, Fort Wayne businessman Eric Doden is the only other candidate to officially jump in the race for governor. He's the former president of the Indiana Economic Development Corporation who announced his candidacy last year.
They're saying to me that we need someone like you who will come in and disrupt the status quo and make sure that we have fresh ideas and a fresh perspective.
Martin Sweet, who teaches political science at Purdue University, says 2024 is shaping up to be a busy election cycle in the Hoosier State, with a likely crowded field of candidates in several races.
Now Indiana's going to have an open seat for governor because of the term limit of Holcomb, and an open seat for senator. Additionally, you'll have House members running for either the governorship or the Senate. That'll open up those races as well.
From the Indiana State House, I'm Kristen Eskow.
Kristen, thanks. Meantime, on the other side of the aisle, former state superintendent and former Republican Jennifer McCormick is also considering a run for governor. So will she seek the Democratic nomination now that she's switched parties? She spoke with Kristen about that possibility and about her experience as Indiana's top educator.
It was a big responsibility. At the time, we had about 60,000 educators that we were responsible for licensing and training and just being a champion for schools. So I learned a ton during that time about how legislation works, how policy works, how important it is to work across the aisle, and I've seen an absence of that. So there are a lot of lessons that I learned that I'm extremely excited to take now to the governor's office.
When do you think you'll make a decision on the run?
I'm hoping to make a decision early 2023. So my family is very supportive, which was incredibly important to me, my dad and my son, and then my extended family as well, and have a lot of champions out there. Educators are ready to go, healthcare folks are ready to go, farmers are super supportive. I've had Republicans and Democrats and independents sit me down and say, we'll do it, you need us to do. I think people are just eager for leadership that is common sense, that is willing to work with people, and will actually move Indiana in the direction we need to go to.
This past election, Democrats nationwide had a lot of big wins, but the GOP really dominated in Indiana. How do you change that momentum in 2020?
Yeah, we had some great candidates as far as on the Democrat ticket, so I was extremely proud of the candidate pool. It was very impressive, and a lot of times too in Indiana it's hard to encourage people to run. Obviously we're at a disadvantage with the financial piece of it, and the party has a lot of room to grow.
All right, we'll watch for her decision soon. As of now, still no Democrats who've officially joined that race, but the state party did put out a statement this past week on Senator Braun's decision to run for governor. They said, quote, Mike Braun has done very little to improve Indiana as a senator and surely won't do it as governor. They say Braun's half-hearted efforts were, in their words, ineffective and said he was more likely to be spotted on cable TV shows than talking to Hoosiers in real life about solving real problems. They were also critical of Braun for his vote against the Respect for Marriage Act this past week. That bill, one of many being worked on in the final weeks of this lame duck Congress. And we want to turn now to our Washington bureau as Alexandra Limon has a look at all of the big measures they're considering in the final weeks of the year.
Democrats are trying to pass as much legislation as possible in the next month before they lose the majority in the U.S. House and control of Congress is divided. Tuesday, the U.S. Senate passed a historic bill requiring the federal government and states to recognize same-sex marriages.
Their marriages are and will in the future continue to be valid.
Democrats pushed for passage of the bill for fear the Supreme Court could overturn current same-sex marriage protections.
In response to concerns over religious liberty, this already narrow bill has been significantly amended in the Senate to include robust religious liberty protections.
11 Republicans supported the measure in the Senate. The bill heads back to the House for another vote before heading to the president's desk. Next up, Congress will take up a bill that could force freight rail unions to agree to a new labor contract and avoid a strike that could impact the delivery of coal, lumber, and fuel this winter.
I'm glad that the two sides have come together so that we can avoid this shutdown, which would be extremely damaging to the country.
A majority of the rail unions support the contract that the Biden administration helped negotiate, but 4 oppose it. Following the attack on the U.S. Capitol, Congress is also looking at passing the Electoral Count Act. The legislation would raise the threshold for objecting to election results and clarify the vice president's role. The measure has bipartisan support, including from Republican Senate Leader Mitch McConnell. But Congress is running out of time. Finally, Democrats also hope to pass a long-term government funding bill instead of the short-term funding measures that the government has been operating under. And they have to get all of that done before the end of the year. In Washington, Alexandra Limon.
All right, Alexandra, thanks. Also this week, more of our exclusive interview with the White House Chief of Staff, Indy native Ron Klain.